this is Taz with Blue Ocean Studios. I was going to give you a quick rig rundown on the front end here as far as preamps and compressors. We'll start over here to the right. Got a Chandler Red 47. So very tubey, very classic. You can actually do a lot more. It doesn't look like it can do a lot, but it can. I got the high pass filter right here, which works really well, actually. Gets rid of all that rumble on the bottom. And believe it or not, this fine gain setting right here, you can really open up the preamp a lot. So you can kind of dull it out, or if you want to just, go clockwise with this, it'll really open it up and kind of give a completely different tone if you're just running these like at 12 o'clock right here. So every notch on here makes a pretty drastic move, so you don't have to get too crazy with it. I've never gone to +3 on this ever, or brought this down. I usually kind of keep it around that 12, 1 o'clock type area at the end of the day. So then right below it, I have a Black Lion Bluey, which is CLA's Blue Stripe. They took the schematics of one of the ones that was one of his favorites, and they came up with this design. And what's really nice about this, it has the comp mix. So if you want to kind of hit this thing hard, which sounds great, but it's just a little bit ridiculous, you can kind of use it more as a blend knob right here. Still get the punch, but you can still open it up on the dry track side of it, and you can just get a lot of different sounds out of that. So it's a great box, especially for the price. It's kind of crazy it's that cheap for like a Blue Stripe 1176 type vibe. So just moving on to like kind of what I use for my tube bus. Manley Verimu. Very stock in a lot of different studios. Very tubey. A little goes a long ways. So you can kind of shape it where you want instruments and the vocal to kind of sit in a speaker. So, usually use it very lightly at the end of the day. You don't get too crazy with it. So it just adds a little bit of gloss to it too, which is very nice. A little bit of weight. So moving down here to an SSL Fusion. So a little bit of a color box, but it's great on a tube bus. So here you got a high pass filter here, starts down at 30, which is, it's a slight knee, so it doesn't get too crazy. So even 30 seems high for me. I usually use like a 20, but it's so light, like the 30 doesn't seem weird to me. So I like using the hardware one over something as a plug-in. So the vintage drive is just kind of a harmonic distortion, trying to push a second harmonic. You can pick a frequency and you can kind of drive it, and it'll kind of drive that certain harmonic up. So a little goes a long way too. Like, you hear it and you'll love it, and then you'll play it back in the car and you realize you just used too much. So you got to be kind of easy on using, that part of the box. And then we just have, a couple low and high EQs here. Clean, just like SSL stuff is. A dB either way is plenty, usually. I love it. I use it on everything. Then it's got the high-pass compressor. This is kind of like almost for like harsh frequencies, which is great for digital recording because that mid-range just, fatigues you quickly. So if you have like a guitar or a vocal that's just piercing, you can find that frequency on here and you can kind of start, hitting it, and it'll kind of soften that harshness out. So that's a great tool. Not used every day, but when it's needed, it does work well. And then just the stereo imaging. I don't really use the space. I use the width, and I usually go no more than 1 o'clock on this, and it widens it a little bit, but it doesn't get too weird. Once you get past 1 o'clock, it gets a little weird. So, that's about as far as I go with that. And then I got the transformer down here. So it just adds a little bit of depth. It's still clean. It's very subtle. It's not like a Neve transformer where you really hear it. It just gives a little bit of space. So it's great. I love it. But it's not as extreme as some of the Neve stuff that I've used before. So then we're down to just the Dramatic Audio Obsidian right there. And this is just their version of a SSL 4000. The reason why I have this one over the 4000, it's just, it sounds like a 4000, but it's a little bit more glossy. It might be a little bit cleaner. And the stereo imaging holds up better the harder you hit it. So the 4000 can collapse on you pretty quick. This one holds up a lot better. Plus, I like the features down here as well. It's got a high pass filter also. So if you don't want to squeeze the whole mix, it shelves off at a certain spot where the bottom end's still opened up, and you're just kind of squeezing more of the mid-range and the high. So that's a great feature that an SSL 4000 doesn't have. So then I have a Danger D-Box. I'm just running all my monitor stuff through that. So I don't use it as summing. Since I'm using all this other stuff anyways, I'm running through transformers and tubes. For me, the summing to reroute stuff through some summing augs is just, I don't feel it's needed, at least for what I do. So as far as the monitoring, A7Xs with the ribbon. There we go. It's just the ribbon tweeters in there. So I love that. They sound great. I had the Mackeys. I worked on NS10s, some other monitors. And it's like I just keep coming back to these. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Then we're down to the API 3124s. And I run them into an API of 550 EQs. Transformer through both definitely adds weight. They're tight and real punchy. Not as big as Neves, but great on drums, great on guitars. You can't go wrong. And then, like every studio, there's always a couple distressors, Empirical Lab, EL9s. So you got to have a couple of those. They pretty much do anything, and they're really easy to use. So I love that. So it's got the harmonic 2 and 3, so you can kind of move stuff around in the speaker that way too. So I like that a lot on that. And then I got a couple Brent Averils that he racked some 1073s in. They're open backed right here. They're not actually encased. They're that old. So, a couple classic Neve 1073s for vocals, guitars, acoustics. They get used a lot here, just like the APIs do. Then down here, I got a Trident S20. And this is just a nice, tight, punchy preamp as well. So great for drums, great for guitars. It's got an AB on here. If you have two mics on two different speakers and you're just trying to figure out what you like better, you can kind of swap back and forth. And it's got a nice low filter on here too. So you can kind of like scoop it up and just get rid of whatever rumble you don't really want. So that's kind of a nice feature on this too. But this is a great find right here. That's kind of a sleeper. Not a lot of people know about this thing. So it's a great sleeper preamp. And then another classic, Manley ELOP. 2 knobs, can't go wrong. You can hit this thing kind of hard even, and it just smooths stuff out and adds a little bit of gloss. I usually, it just sounds so good. I usually just use it on everything. So it's usually sitting in the chain somewhere when I'm tracking. And then I have a Avalon 737. Again, another classic box you find in every studio. Vocals, bass, acoustics. I've used it on clean electric guitars. They sound great. Great EQ. All the filter options down here, which are great. So just another great box. And then I'm using an Apogee Symphony right here. So I had the Avid HDIO and a couple 16Xs from Apogee and started out with a Digi 192. So I've kind of gone through the gamut with them. But right now, as it stands, I'm using this Symphony, which it sounds great. I have no qualms about it. So it took me a little bit of time coming from an HDIO to this Apogee to kind of get used to mixing on it. But once you kind of got it figured out, mixes are pretty consistent now. So that's pretty much it on the hardware end. Other than just stock stuff, I'm using an Apple Intel quad core. So I got a backup one back here. Since they're so old, you just kind of gotta, if something goes bad, you just kind of part them out. It's cheaper just to buy something on eBay and get another one and part it out or swap them out. So that's pretty much the hardware here that I'm using here at Blue Ocean. Thanks for watching.